Doug, Emmanuel is, as we've discussed before, that with a lot of players coming into college football, I guess to use the phrase that we hear about a lot of circumstances, sometimes it just takes a little while for the light to go on. But his sense of, I guess the light went on and it was demonstrated in his sense of purpose and his sense of reliability and dependability really starting back in the spring. And he has become just that. He's now one of the most focused members of his group, dependable in all the things that quarterbacks give quarterbacks a comfort level and a confidence level in a receiver. That is, okay. He's lined up, with the proper splits. He's running the routes at the proper depth. Okay, he reads the openings in the coverage, positions himself so he becomes very dependable to the quarterbacks, and he is, and always has been probably the best natural catcher amongst the group. So he's always been dependable in that category. But when he adds to that, look, he's where he's supposed to be and he's going to catch the ball, and so that's one of the factors that has brought about increased playing time for him.
Coach, you go from the number 2 pass defense to the number 1 in the country. More of a technical question. Always talk about the speed of a receiver and going at the speed of a quarterback. How do you teach your receivers to get away from separation from the speed of the quarterback?
On the premise that you bring up, I think that explains why Miami for the year is only allowing 44% completions. That it's been a season full of receivers who have had difficulty on a play-to-play basis getting open. Say for example, last week. Now that was a terrific win for Georgia Tech. Okay, the game was won despite the fact the quarterback went 11 for 30. Now normally if you look at a quarterback going 11 for 30, well, they certainly didn't outscore him. What they did offensively, Georgia Tech, is they carved out enough points and didn't give any points back to Miami through field position or turning the ball over. But, they did the same thing. Basically, people say, well, boy, what was the difference when they played up in Blacksburg? What was the difference in Marcus Vick? The receivers weren't open. And the quarterback had to hold the ball longer, and therefore the rush got closer to him. And so, we have a strip sack in the pocket there for which Miami got 7 points, whereas in other games, that thing's out of that. Now, that's just a great luxury that they have in playing. One, it creates a much simpler scheme because all the things that go into playing good zone defense, there's a lot of teaching that's involved in that. This to a large degree is that's your guy, stay with them. Adjustments get minimized. Adjustments get minimized. Checking from this coverage against one formation to another coverage against another, so the mental part of it drops off. It's a nice way to be able to play.
Does having gone against the speed of Virginia Tech cause you to pull stuff out of the playbook and put different stuff in just because of what worked and what didn't?
No, I think it's too late in the year to be putting new things in. Then you just fool yourself. You have to be able to, besides the fact that you make your game plan based on dealing with the schemes of the other teams, you have to do what your players are versed in doing.
You mentioned
those 1 week specials always backfire. I think they always backfire.
You mentioned the other day problems on the edge, and obviously we're aware of the left side and the other players playing there. How would you sum up Sinton's season? This has been pretty dependable in terms of playing a lot of plays, and for a guy who was injured coming in here, he's held up pretty well for the next 2 years.
Yeah, he has. He's done a nice job. It hasn't been a spectacular year, Doug. I'd say, for a guy who's going to play 4 years, it's been a good start. Obviously, very proficient and very productive at the job that tackles have to do. That is, He keeps his quarterback clean, and he's got great movement. As I think we've discussed before, his body type and such and his movement skills are rare for the position. So, let's to use one of our players as an example, Elton Brown. Now, Elton was a real good player, but if you decided not to take Elton Brown with his body type at guard, you say, well, look, we need a guard in the next couple of years, but we also need a linebacker this year, so we think we'll take the linebacker this year because next year or in later rounds, there's going to be another guy who looks like Elton Brown. And you can say that about most linemen, but there's not going to be another guy who's built like and looks like and can move like D'Brickashaw Ferguson for quite some time, because there hasn't been one for quite a while. Now, I'm sure there's some guys that people would plug in there, but in my limited awareness of it, okay, the two guys who have preceded him as this style player and have had great success were Mike Ken, who was an all-pro player back in the mid to late 80s for Atlanta, and then Lomas Brown came and played about 17 years with a number of different teams, and they were both, for the position, fairly lean, high cut, left tackles whose forte was blocking and protecting the back of the quarterback. And so this is one of those, if it was with a product on television, they advertise it as a limited edition, and once they're all sold out, there aren't going to be many. Well, this is a very limited edition. Okay, there's probably one of this type this year, and they don't come up every year. So if that's, if a team is in the market for that kind of player, then it's kind of now or never. And certainly that obviously, and certainly the same thing, I'm sure they're thinking the same thing, say, about Reggie Bush. Just how many backs of that size and that speed and that versatility are available every year. So if you want to have a Reggie Bush on your team, it's now or wait a while for him. So probably D'Brickashaw fits into that category for a lot of teams.
How does Eric Winston differ from D'Brickashaw?
Oh, he's one of those big, massive guys. 6'6", 310, 315, engulfs blockers.
You've described D'Brickashaw as a guy. Some guys are just what they are. He's a left tackle, and that's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
What makes...
Well, for example, Hank, to clarify that, since Eric Winston was brought up, who's a very good player, okay, he's playing left tackle at Miami. Okay, if a team took him just because they say, well, look, we really like this player, okay, we like Eric Winston, we want him on our line, but we already have a real good left tackle. Well, Eric Winston could play guard. Okay, he could easily be a guard. He's got the body type to be in there and take on those blocky guys who play inside on the regular down defense, anchor the power rushers. Obviously, D'Brickashaw is not going to be a guard. He's not going to be a center. If teams make any trade-off in their tackles, if they have to do so, the left tackle with a right-handed quarterback, in order to get the type of pass protection ability, they're willing to give up a little bit of a root 'em out skill. Okay, but then that means your right tackle's got to be a pretty good root 'em out guy. Okay, well I'd say that probably would, limit where they look at him. So he's probably not as versatile in the team's thinking as to the many positions that he's going to play, but way above at the one specific position. So that's what brings up his uniqueness. That's what his value is. That's what he's going to be. That's why I have proposed it that way. And I'm sure that different personnel people, at least that I have been associated with, would see it that way. I guess they would, because they trained me to think that way.
What does Ahmad need to do to get back to being the player that we saw last year?
Yeah, well, I'd say Jeff really had just to have a normal year, where he was able to have an off-season program, spring practice. I mean, all the things that we do them for a reason, and the reason is that we're pretty sure they're beneficial and necessary to a player's preparation for a season. And 4 of all four of the really important things Ahmad didn't have benefit of. He didn't have benefit of the winter off-season program. He didn't have the benefit of spring practice. He didn't have the benefit of the summer off-season program, and he didn't have the benefit of training camp. And then he just literally got kind of cleared to practice and was playing in games.
My question was going to be about Ahmad. Is it purely your choice that he's an inside linebacker versus an outside linebacker? And the thing that makes me think it is some of the most dynamic players in NFL history have been outside linebackers with all of his tools. And I just wonder if he's an inside guy.
You better not say that to that guy in Baltimore, or to Mike Singletary.
No, I said some of them.
Or to Junior Seau.
The first guy ever to be MVP of the NFL was an outside linebacker. You happen to coach him.
Right.
I mean, I look at him and I wonder, could he be that?
He could be. Okay, now Ray Lewis is an inside guy, just like we talk about DeBrickashaw. Okay, Ray Lewis is an inside guy. That's what he is. And he's great at it. But probably there are, as great as he is at that, there are probably guys in the league who could play outside linebacker differently than Ray. Mike Singletary was a Mike. That's what he was. And he was dynamic at it. Zach Thomas is an inside guy. Probably Lawrence was an outside guy. Mo Lewis, who we had at the Jets, could have been an inside or an outside guy. He could have been either. Ahmad is that. He has the talents to be an outside guy. But he also has unique ability to get to the ball as an inside guy. And just as you've seen him be able to run to the ball. I think Seau could be a very good outside guy, but I think he can be. Obviously, he's proven, okay, that he's one of the best ever at being an inside guy. So, Hank, I'd say Ahmad is the one player on our team who could be either, but I still think that his most dynamic spot on regular downs is inside.
At 260, as opposed to, I guess, he played at 250 last year. Has he lost a step? Or has he lost a step because of the knee coming back to the knee?
I think, I don't know that he's still got a lot of blur the screen across the formation plays, Doug, so I wouldn't say that he's necessarily lost too much there, but if it all adds up back to kind of what Jeff was saying, to get back to how he was playing at the end of last year, I think it's just a combination of moving further and further away from the date of that surgery, moving closer and closer to the date of being able to get into real good preparation for a season, and then having the type of spring training, for baseball players, training camp to get his game ready to go. Or liken it to your prowess on the golf course.
Prowess is not a word.
I'm sure.
I'm golfing, Doug Dowdy, and Krause.
I'm sure, probably, or bowling, I guess, right?
Well, you screwed that up.
Okay, I'm sure you like to warm up before you go bowling, okay, rather than all of a sudden have to start the game in the third frame. Well, that's kind of how his season started. Okay, hey, Ahmad, or jump in here. You're in the third frame. So, Jerry, so many of them have had the opportunity to have probably a greater full 4-year impact on the performance of the team on the field because so many of them played so early. To have, Schmidt's going to play in his 50th game. I think, DeBrickashaw is going to start his 48th game. Butler has started close to 40 games. That's just Lundy, except for the games that he's missed when he was injured and couldn't play. This year took a substantial slice out of that, was going to be up in the 40s of games that he'd been in. Now, that's a lot of games for, that's a lot of players that have been in the 40 area range of games that they've started or played in. So I'd say that kind of maximizes the impact that is when you talk about senior classes and you say, well, boy, this class has had a significant impact on the team. Frequently what we're talking about is guys who started for 2.5 or 3 years. We're talking about a lot of guys who started for 3+ or 4 years. So they really have, and they came in and provided a level of energy and obviously some performance in the early going where really wasn't going to come from anybody but them. You know, that first year they were here, which was what, I guess, '02. You know, if DeBrickashaw wasn't playing that position, I don't know who was going to play it. If Wally hadn't come in to be the spark that he was and catch 56, 57 passes, well, somebody else probably wasn't going to catch him. At the end of that year when Mike Mullins was hurt and couldn't start anymore, if Brad hadn't been there to start for us as a true freshman in the last 3 or 4 games in the bowl game down there, it wouldn't have been a very positive situation. So there's so many of them that came in and did that right away that obviously they had a great impact on the team, and we're very appreciative of what they did.
Do you take any measures because of humidity that you might face Saturday, which run into
Sure.
this time of year?
No, I've thought about that. Jeff and I just haven't come up with a good plan. I don't quite know how to turn the heat up and where to go to do that, but it would be well. I even thought, silly as it might seem, I even thought about making them all wear sweats under their uniforms. Maybe we'll just have a lot of pickle juice on the sidelines. Hank, one of the things that we emphasize all year long, and particularly as we get closer to the game, and specifically usually on Fridays, is this: for the players to remember that not everything's going to go perfect. Okay, it never does. And so when it doesn't, get up, get on with the next play. But during the course of the game, be daring, be fearless, make plays. Okay, be aggressive. So that's how you have to play to win. And so having said that, that's what we're trying to promote. You know, whether it's the guy in the who might miss a sack because he's going for more than the sack. He's trying to get the strip. And he could have run into the back of the quarterback and knocked him down, but he also saw the ball out here. And when he went for one last lunge to knock the ball out, the quarterback slipped away, and everybody says, oh, he missed the sack. Well, the kid was really trying to be aggressive and be daring and saw the opportunity to make a play that could really change the game. You know, if you strip sack the guy right there, you got the ball. If you don't strip sack him, they're going to punt the ball. Now you got 40 yards further away. You still got it, but it's 40 yards further away. That's going to happen in lots of circumstances. You want the quarterback to be aggressive with the ball. He can't just be a dinker. Hank, one of the things that we emphasize all year long, and particularly as we get closer to the game, and specifically usually on Fridays, is this: for the players to remember that not everything's going to go perfect. Okay, it never does. And so when it doesn't, get up, get on with the next play. But during the course of the game, be daring, be fearless, make plays. Okay, be aggressive. So that's how you have to play to win. And so having said that, that's what we're trying to promote. You know, whether it's the guy in the who might miss a sack because he's going for more than the sack. He's trying to get the strip. And he could have run into the back of the quarterback and knocked him down, but he also saw the ball out here. And when he went for one last lunge to knock the ball out, the quarterback slipped away, and everybody says, oh, he missed the sack. Well, the kid was really trying to be aggressive and be daring and saw the opportunity to make a play that could really change the game. You know, if you strip sack the guy right there, you got the ball. If you don't strip sack him, they're going to punt the ball. Now you got 40 yards further away. You still got it, but it's 40 yards further away. That's going to happen in lots of circumstances. You want the quarterback to be aggressive with the ball. He can't just be a dinker, but he's got to understand when it's just gambling, okay, and when it's really trying to be aggressive for play. So we want that at all positions, but there's a judgment and a technique that's also involved in all of those things. I'm sure that I know that there are things on that particular play that Mike usually does different, and given the opportunity again, I think he would do them differently.
Do you have a rule, like don't catch a punt inside the 10-yard line or anything like that?
We do, but he wasn't inside the 10. So, in fact, he was right on it. So, the decision to catch the ball was a good one, because what we don't want is the ball hitting and rolling to the 1 yard line. Okay, he had space to catch it. It's more a case of how he went about catching the ball that caused the problem. Like most Americans in this uniquely American holiday, we'll try to make it more than just eating turkey. We'll try to, on a team basis, make sure that we focus on those things that we all ought to be thankful for as Americans, as Virginia football players, as kind of members of this team, and remind them to consider those people in their life, that it would be a wonderful thing to express to them on that particular day that they love them and that they appreciate them.